All right, we're going to go ahead and get started with our Pilates with props. Today's class, we'll use the mini loop bands. I have an elastic band here. It's pretty firm. And then I also have a cloth band that has elastic. This type doesn't slip on your legs like the other type does, but it's hard to find one that's not too stiff. I have my sponges for underneath my hip points when I lay on my belly for my prone exercises. And then I also have the yoga block, and we're going to use the yoga block for the things we normally use it for, such as in between the knees during bridge, sitting on and seated exercises. But I am going to also use this for an inner thigh lift, which I think everyone needs. I know I need it, but I also think everyone needs it. So we're going to do that today in class as well. So make sure you have your yoga block, and we're going to go ahead and get started. Let's start on all fours today. Start with your knees under your hips, your hands under your shoulders. If your shoulders are stiff, maybe bring your hands a little wider. And then we're going to do a cat and cow. So it's inhale to extend the spine and exhale to round. Start with your cat and cow, nice and small. Focusing on really tucking that tail, drawing that belly up, and then sticking those sitting bones out, drawing the shoulder blades down away from the earlobes as you look forward. So imagine as you come into your cow, you're reaching that chest forward between your shoulders, and you're drawing your shoulders away from your ears. And as you round, press your kneecaps, your toes, your hands into the floor. Really draw your belly up toward the front of your spine and let your tail tuck like a scared dog. And inhale. So let's do maybe 3 or 4 more of these. Move in a range of motion that feels good for you. At a speed that feels good for you. Breathing in to extend and breathing out to round. Finish in your neutral spine. You're not arching or rounding. And you're going to reach one leg back and just rotate that heel in and out, making sure you're getting that thigh bone moving in the hip joint. You're not just moving your ankle. Relax the front of the thigh. And then we'll switch sides, same thing. You'll notice one side feels different than the other. Leave that foot back there and then point and flex off those toes, moving that ankle joint. Like you're using the pressing of the toes into the floor to push yourself forward. Rolling over onto the tips of the toes, and then back onto the bottoms of the toes. And we'll do that with the other foot. You might feel a calf stretch. You might feel a stretch in your foot, your toes, your ankle. It's all good. And then let's take a child's pose. Breathing in, whatever variation of child's pose feels good for you. So your arms can be reaching, your forehead can be on the floor, your knees can be together or apart, your toes can be tucked or untucked. So many different variations of child's pose. Breathe into your upper back so much that your shoulder blades get further apart, and then breathe out. Scoop your belly in and up. One more time, breathe in. And breathe out. And then let's come on over onto the back. Feet are flat, knees are bent. And we're going to bring those feet to hip distance. And then we're going to wag those knees in and out. Think about moving that thigh bone in the hip joint. Think about relaxing the front of the hip. This may be 10 more times. Just make it fairly passive. Making sure you're keeping your hips still. If your hips are rocking side to side, then one knee is going out more than the other. And then bring those feet about as wide as your mat. Let your knees knock together. Pause here for a moment. Let your low back relax. Let your ribs relax onto the floor. Place your hands on your bottom ribs. Breathe in. Breathe out. Encourage those ribs to relax down toward the floor. You might feel your tail tuck a little bit when you do that. One more time. Breathe in. Breathe out. Keep those ribs relaxing on the floor and then move into a windshield wiper. Trying to keep the ribs closed and still on the mat as you move these legs. Maybe even move the hips. And then bring your feet back to hip distance. Hug one knee in toward the chest. Lengthen the other leg onto the floor. Let the front of that thigh relax. Keep those ribs anchored onto the floor. Slide that foot in, bring that knee up, and then we'll switch sides. And you'll notice one side is different than the other. If I pull this knee in too close, then my other thigh lifts off the floor. So I want that thigh to relax toward the floor. I want the front of that thigh to relax. Breathe in and breathe out. Place that foot flat on the floor. Put the other foot down to meet it. And we'll do some bridges. Take a breath in. Breathe out. Anchor your ribs down. Draw your belly in. And then press your feet down. Curl your tail up. Rolling up into your bridge. Breathe in. And then breathe out to roll down. Maybe you can't get all the way up into bridge right now. That's totally fine. Breathe in. Breathe out. As long as you're moving that spine, changing the shape of the spine, breathe in, using your core a little bit. Let's do 3 more. One more. And then lower down. Reach your arms by your sides. Take a breath in. Breathe out. Curl your head and shoulders up and lower down. And we're going to do 4 more of those. As you curl up, the shape of your spine changes. Your chin stays the same distance from your chest the whole time. So your neck stays neutral. Notice when you curl up, your back ribs press into the mat. Your belly draws away from your shirt. 1 more. Stay up here. Reach your arms up toward the sky. Place your hands behind your head. Now let your head rest back into your hands a little. Draw your shoulders down toward the mat. Breathe in, breathe out. Rotate the rib cage to the right. Come back to the middle. Rotate to the left. So think about moving that rib cage without moving the hips. Rotate. Relax your head in your hand. If you're stressing out in your neck, close your eyes. Relax your head in your hand. Do 2 more sets. Getting that spine moving in this rotational plane. Last one. And lower your head and shoulders down. This time, bring one leg to tabletop and then the other. We're going to take that block and place it between the knees. And then we're going to tick-tock those knees side to side. Start really small. Think about your thigh bones just sliding in the hip joint left and right. Once you have this movement figured out and you have your core connected, the ribs are staying down, Then maybe make your movement a little bigger. So now we're moving the hips without moving the ribs. If your rib cage is rotating, you're making this move too big. 4 more times to each side. One more. Come back to the middle. I hope you felt your obliques on that one. All right, hug the knees in toward the chest. Place the block aside. Place the feet down. We'll come on over onto the belly. Now, if you want to put that rolled up towel, those sponges underneath your hip points, line them up next to each other, or place the towel crossways on the mat and lie on the prop. So your hip points are right in the center of the prop. Your pubic bone is on the other side of it. Relax your shoulders. Reach the crown of your head forward and your toes back. And then we're going to inhale and then exhale. Draw the belly up. Curl the pubic bone toward the floor. On the next inhale, lift the chest. And then exhale, draw the belly up as you lower the chest down. Continuing with this, inhaling and exhaling. Check your pubic bone. Make sure it didn't pop off the floor. And lower down. That will create tension in your low back. But don't jam it into the floor because then you won't be able to move your upper spine. Lift, lower, lift, lower, moving from that upper back. One more time. Lift, stay up there. Reach the crown of the head forward, reach the toes back more. Now we're going to lift those hands off the floor and lower them. Lift so my arm bone moves in the shoulder joint. Moving from the upper arm bone. Shoulder blades glide toward each other. Keep reaching the toes long and the top of the head forward. 3 more. 2 more. Last one. And lower down. This time, reach your arms out to the sides. Bring your arms down so that they're lower than your shoulders. So they're on a little angle down toward your feet. Turn your palms and your elbow creases forward. Move from the shoulder joint. Let's try that one more time. Rotate the palms and the elbow creases forward. Reach your legs long. Float the chest and the arms up. Lower everything down. Relax. 4 more times. Reach the legs long. Float the chest and the arms. Lower down. See if you can find some engagement behind your armpit as you lift those arms. Keep the elbow creases facing forward. Last time. Hold it up there. Reach the legs long. Reach the crown of the head forward more. Slide the shoulder blades toward each other. The arms will lift a little. Lower down. Slide. Lower. Slide. Lower. Keep your eye gaze slightly forward. 2 more times. And the hands are lower than the shoulders, angled toward the end of your mat. And lower down. Go ahead and take your counter pose. So that's working on the upper back strength. Those postural muscles in your upper back. Breathe in and breathe out. Come on to your back for 100. Now I'm going to use the band around my knees for 100, or my legs. You can use the block in between your knees if you know you like squeezing the block better. Come on to your back. Knees come in toward the chest. Just relax here for a moment. Notice in this position, your low back is relaxing toward the floor. Keep the knees where they are. Slide your arms longer, and then curl your head and shoulders up. Shh. And lower down. 3 more times. Curl up. Now, if you're using the band, press the legs out into the band as you curl up, and then let them come back together as you lower down. If you're using the block, squeeze the block when you curl up. One more time. And lower down. Now you can stick with this move, or we're going to do 100. So you're going to curl up, and then start pumping the arms like you're pressing on a spring. Breathing in for 5 and out for 5. Now you're pressing on the spring with your upper arm bone, not your hands. So make sure you're moving from the back of the shoulder. If your neck is stressing out, let's rest your head and shoulders down. If this is too easy, lengthen those legs toward the sky. Really scoop that belly away from your upper thigh. You can lower those legs a little. Exhale. Inhale, bring them up. Or you can keep them bent. Your other option is, of course, place them on the floor. Let's do 3 more sets. Breathing in for 5. And out for 5. In for 5. And out for 5. One more time. Bend the knees in. Rock your hips side to side. If you have the block in there, take it out. If you have the band on there, leave it on there. And we're going to rock and roll on up to seated. Now we're going to place the feet flat with the band around the legs above the knees. Now, if this is too stressful for you, you can take the band out. Reach the arms out in front. Sit tall. Breathe in. Breathe out. Draw your belly away from the highest part of your thigh as you roll back. If you need to, lift those toes off the floor. And then come on back up. 3 more times. And come on back up. 2 more. And last one. And come on back up. This time we're going to take the band off. And because this is Pilates with props, we're going to use both of them. Have a seat on your block. And then we're going to take that band around the toes. Now for me, this band is a little tight. I might actually use this one instead. Sit up as tall as you can. Take a breath in. This one won't work either. Breathe out, bend your elbows back toward your rib cage and then release it forward. Think about using your upper back muscles, not your arms, to move your elbows back. 3 more. 2 more. Last one. This time we're just going to have the band around the right foot. Take a breath in. Breathe out. Bends back and release it. And back. If it's too much tension, bend your knee. That'll make less tension on the bands. 2 more. Last one. Now, if you have your knee bent, make sure your other leg is in the same place. And we'll do 6 on the other side. You can hold the band with a fist, or you can hold the band with an open hand, whatever feels better for your elbow and your hand. So we're going to move that shoulder blade toward the spine and pull the arm back. Shoulder blade. Think about the shoulder blade moving first. 3 more. Stay tall. Draw the belly in. And then release it. Go ahead and come on off your prop. And we're going to roll down onto the mat. Rock your hips side to side. And we're going to do our abdominal series with the band around the legs. Now, if you know you don't like the band around the legs or it's too much for you, leave it out. And then when we get to double leg stretch, you can squeeze the block instead. All right, so We're going to start with that band above the knees. So the closer it is to your hip, the less resistance it's going to give you. So we're going to start with those legs about hip distance and take a breath in. Breathe out, slide the arms long, curl up. And then we're going to reach right leg long, left knee comes towards you a little bit. And then we're going to bring that right knee in, and then we're going to switch. So we're going to do one leg at a time. Really focus on the back of the leg moving away from you, not your foot, not your knee. Shh. Too much for your neck. Place your hands behind your head. Shh. If you're feeling this in your low back, bring your knees closer to you and bring your leg on a higher diagonal. 3 more sets. Shh. Shh. Looking above your knees. 1 more set. Scoop that belly and bring the legs in. Lower your head and shoulders. And we're going to do double leg stretch. Once again, if you know you like to squeeze the block, take the band out, put the block in there. I'm going to bring one hand to the outside of each knee. Breathe in, breathe out. We're going to do dead bug here. Shh. Really imagine your midsection scooping away from the ceiling and then bend it back in. I like to think of a hammock chair, and then someone's going to sit right in the center of it. That's right where your belly button is. 3 more. Shh. Press the back of the leg away from you. And then your leg will straighten a little bit. Shh. All right, now if you want to curl up, curl up. Draw your belly away from your shirt. Exhale your back ribs into the mat even more. Inhale, exhale, reach. Circle it around, bring it back in. Reach. If you're using the band, you're pressing out into it from the hip. Shh. Shh. 2 more. Last one. And lower down. Let's go ahead and place the feet down for bridge. Take a breath in. Breathe out. Anchor your ribs down left and right. Press your feet down. Lift your hips up. And then lower down. Make sure with the band on there, you're still pressing into the inner edge of your foot. 4 more times. Anchor the ribs, lift up, lower down. Shh. I'm just playing around with my foot placement because I'm feeling some stress in my left SI joint. 1 more time. And lower down. Hug the knees in toward the chest. Let your low back relax into the floor. And we're going to move on to our scissors, lengthening those legs into the air. We're going to do little baby scissors since we have that band on there. Make sure the band is above your knee, not on your knee, okay? And then the little baby scissors look like this, little teeny tiny scissors, just like that. But focus on when the leg goes away from you, pushing into the band with the back of your leg, keeping that belly scooped. We're going to do 10 sets. Little teeny tiny scissors, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we're going to leave the legs up there. Bend the knees if you're gripping in your hip or your thighs, okay? And I'm going to separate the legs, pressing out into the bend using those outer hips. So it's like doing your side leg work, both legs at the same time. Yay! Out, in, scoop that belly, out, in, out, in. Move in a range of motion that feels good for you. 1 more. And then hug those knees in. All right. We're going to go ahead and roll over onto our side. Leave the band right there. Bend your bottom knee. Lift the top leg up to hip height. So you're going to keep the ribs in, keep the pelvis in line with the hips, and the ankle in line with the pelvis. And we're just going to hold it here for 3 or 4 breaths. Keeping that leg in line with your hip as the other knee is forward. This is an activation of the glute, hopefully, for you. As long as you're not arching your low back too much. 2 more breaths. You can do whatever you want with your foot. 1 more breath. And then we're going to lift, lower, lift, little tiny lift, lower, lift, lower, lift, lower. Really press that bottom leg into the mat. 1 more. And then bend that knee into a parallel leg position. And then we're going to externally rotate, parallel. External, watch how small my movement is. External, the movement's coming from right here. Draw the belly in. 2 more. Last one. And lower it down. All right, let's come to the other end. Bottom knee is bent. Top leg is at hip height. Now, if you're in this position and you don't feel your glute engaging, then your band's probably not tight enough, okay? Or your leg's not really in line with your hip. Think about pressing your thigh bone back into that band. And we're going to hold it here for 3 or 4 breaths. Breathe in, breathe out. Once again, you can do whatever you want with your foot. Really notice that glute engaging back here. 1 more breath. Push the bottom leg into the floor as you lift, lower, lift, lower. Make sure your leg didn't float forward here. It's still back there. So your glute is engaged while you're using that side hip. Lift, lower, lift. 2 more. Last one. All right, bend the knee for our clam. Rotate. External rotations, really small. It's coming from right here. See if you can really encourage the movement to come from right there. 3 more. Last one. And then lower it down. This time we're going to roll right over onto the belly. I know, what the heck is going on here? All right, rest your forehead on your hands, or you can rest them onto rest it onto one of your sponges. Relaxing your shoulders. Reach your legs long. Now we're going to float the right leg up, lower it down. We're going to do repeaters here. We're going to do 6 on each side. Keep the hip points on the floor. Maybe you're using the sponges under your hip points. Lift, lower. Reach it long, lift it, lower it, relax it. Reach it long, lift it, lower it, relax. 2 more. Last one. Now we're going to keep that right thigh on the floor, both hip points on the floor, and we're going to reach that left leg long, lift. Reach it long, lift. Lift. Try to relax your thigh, the front of your thigh in between each one. Lift. Lift. 2 more. Last one. And then relax it. Wiggle your bum side to side. And then we're going to come onto all fours. 1 more exercise for these glutes. All fours. You can do a cat and cow here. Keeping your knees hip distance. Notice your cat and cow probably feels better now than it did in the beginning of class. All right, on this one, we're going to slide that leg back, pushing the back of the thigh up into the band. That's the movement, not the foot. The back of the thigh up into the band. So that's where you're moving from. Trying to keep that pelvis mostly still, pressing equally into both hands the whole time if you can. Relax your thigh, then reach the leg back. Relax your thigh, reach the leg back. Remember, you're not moving from the foot, you're not moving from the knee. Why are we doing this? It's so important for your glutes to be nice and strong and not lazy. Lazy glutes can cause tight hamstrings, low back pain. One more time, each side. And then roll over onto your side. Go ahead and take that band off. Move it to the side. Let's come on to all fours. Remember, if you have a wrist issue, you can put the sponges underneath your wrists, okay? If you have a knee issue, you can put them underneath your knee. They're so versatile. All right, step your knees back a little so you're in your modified plank. Draw your belly up, but don't tuck your tail too much. Squeeze your glutes. Hold it here. So we're working on arm strength. If you want to add a little tiny push-up, then go ahead. If you want to stay in the plank, then do that. Each time you exhale, close your front ribs and draw your ribs up a little. 3 more breaths. One more. And then take a break. We're going to come on up to seated for spine twist. If you like to sit on the block for spine twist, go ahead and do that. Now, I'm going to use the band. I'm going to stick with this theme of using the band around my legs, and I'm going to press out into the band as I do my spine twist. You can try a couple with the band and then try a couple without. See what feels better. Okay, your feet can be flexed or your toes can be pointed. I'm going to sit up nice and tall, palms face the ceiling. Breathe in to grow tall, and then breathe out. Press out into that band a little bit as you rotate, and then release the pressure into the band. Press, rotate. Press, rotate. One more set with the band. Now you can try it without the band and see if you can rotate the same amount with both. Rotate. Are your obliques engaging the same amount? Remember, you're rotating the rib cage. The arms are just coming along for the ride. Draw the belly in as you rotate. Stay tall. 2 more sets. You can bend your arm behind you. Last one. And then lower your arms down. All right, so maybe you liked pressing out into that band. That worked better for your spinal rotation. Remember that for next time when I don't cue using the band. You can just put it on there. All right, let's go ahead and come on down onto our sides. We're going to do an inner thigh lift. So for the inner thigh lift, we're going to use the block. You're going to stack your spine, and you're going to place the block down onto your mat so you can put your knee right on the block. So the knee and part of the inside of my calf are on the block, and my thigh bone is further away from me than a 90-degree angle. My foot's relaxed. Most important thing here, hips stay stacked. Reach that bottom leg long. Hips are stacked. Core is engaged. Top hand is on the floor. Now we're going to reach that bottom leg long and lift it up and lower it down. Relax it. Now put your hand on your waist. Notice you have some squishiness there, right? There's not a lot of muscle engagement right now, okay, with the hips stacked. Now, when you lift your leg, reach the leg long, lift it up. You should still have some squishiness in that side body. If it's rock hard, then you're using your oblique to lift your leg, not your inner thigh. Lower it down, relax it. Restart, stack your hips, engage your core. Reach the leg long, lift it up. Once you found your inner thigh, you're going to keep it up there and you're going to move that leg forward toward the back of your other leg onto a pike position. Keep your hips stacked. We're going to hold it up here for another breath. Oh, mine's starting to shake around. And then we're going to think about moving from the center of that bottom inner thigh. Lift it up a little. Lower it a little. Keep your hips stacked. Lift it up a little. Lower it a little. Make sure your foot is still parallel to the floor. Lift it. Lower it. Inner thigh, lift. Lower. So don't think about moving from your foot or your knee. Lift. Lower. Make sure your hips are still stacked. 2 more. Lift. Lower. 1 more. Lift. Hold it up there. If you're still in your inner thigh, if you're in your knee or your low back or something like that, then just lower your leg down. If you're not, leave your leg up here. We're going to do pulses. Lift, 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 lift. 4 more. 3, 2, 1. Lower down. All right, if you got a little owie in your inner thigh, that's perfect. That's what we wanted, okay? If the owie was anywhere else, that is not ideal. Let's go ahead and do the other side. Make sure your block is on this level, not this level, to get the other leg out of the way, okay? And to help you keep your hips stacked. So we're going to put the block down there and then put the top knee on the block right near the end, and then let your foot just hang off. Don't push your foot into the floor. Remember, your thigh bone is not at a 90-degree angle or closer. Stack your hips, engage your core, and then we're going to use that inner thigh to lift that leg up and lower it down. Now, feel your waist. On this side, for me, it's a lot more squishy than it was on the other side. All right, so feel your waist. Now, we're going to reach that leg long, lift that leg up. Feel your waist again. If you still got some squish in there, great. Hold your leg up there. If it feels like a steel cable, try again. All right, once you're there in your inner thigh and not your oblique, you're going to bring that leg forward a little bit. Stack your hips again. Draw your ribs in. Make sure you're lifting from the center of your inner thigh. And I'm talking a lot to distract you from the fact that this is a lot of work. All right, so we're going to hold it there for 1 more breath. Mine is already bopping up and down. That's okay. All right, now we're going to lift a little, lower a little. Look how small my lift is. Lift, lower. If I lift so high that my hip moves, then I'm not really using my inner thigh. I'm just moving my hip to move my leg. Lift, lower. 2 more. Your foot is still parallel to the floor. 1 more. Hold it up there. If you're still feeling this in your inner thigh and not anywhere else, keep it up there. Otherwise, lower it down. Draw your belly in. Make sure your hips are stacked, and we'll do those pulses. Lift, lift, lift. 4 more. Ow. 3 more. 2 more. Last one. Lower it down. Phew. All right. Awesome work. Let's come on to our backs. And right after we stabilized our hips and our inner thighs, let's go ahead and try our bridge again. Arms are long by the sides. You're in your neutral spine. You have a little low back curve. Your feet are your safe hip distance. Breathe in, breathe out, anchor your ribs down, press your feet down and lift up into your bridge. It's like a magic trick, right? And then lower down. That bridge feels so much easier. You're feeling it in the glutes, not the low back. Breathe in, breathe out. Shh. Before I had gripping in the front of this hip. Now I don't have that anymore. Lower down. 4 more. Anchor the ribs. Shh. Anchor the ribs. Shh. Make sure you engage that core cylinder before you lift your hips. 2 more. Shh. And last one. Shh. And then lower down. Go ahead and take your counter pose. It can be a windshield wiper. It can be a hip stretch. And then we're going to rock and roll on up to seated, or roll over onto your side and come up to seated for spine stretch forward and saw. Okay. I'm going to remind you what saw looks like. It's a rotation, a lean, and then a reach. The back arm reaches back and presses in. The front arm reaches forward and presses out. So it's an opposition. Draw that belly back and roll up and then come back to the middle. Okay. That's what your saw looks like. Your spine stretch forward, around forward, shoulders relax away from the ears, and then really press that bum into the floor to come back up. There's your saw and your spine stretch forward. We're going to alternate. Saw, spine stretch forward. Saw, spine stretch forward. Okay. That's our pattern. All right. You know, like at least I'm not asking you to count by 2s while we do this. All right. Rotate maybe next week. And then round forward. Shh. And then roll up. Come back to the middle. Rotate. Lean. And then round forward. Drawing that waist back on both sides. Roll up, press your bum into the floor, and then come back to the middle. Spine stretch forward. And come on up. Rotate. Come back to the middle. Rotate. I almost confused myself. Come back to the middle and spine stretch forward. If the spine stretch forward feels really good for you, but the saw doesn't, maybe just do the spine stretch forward. Roll up. And then one last spine stretch forward. And then come on back up. All right, this time we're going to take the band. I'll use this one. Let's do left foot. Your right hand is going to be on the floor. Your left foot is in the air, and we're going to do a little hamstring stretch. You can pull with your arm to lengthen that leg, or you can just push the thigh bone toward the floor. One more time. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Lengthen it and bend. So I'm mostly doing this with my leg, pushing my thigh bone toward the floor, but you can use your arm more. All right, now we're going to take that band around the legs. And we're going to press into the band. So we're going to press out into the band. We're going to reach the arms forward and then lean back and then come forward. 3 more times. Tall, draw the belly in, squeeze the glutes, press into the band, lean back and come forward. If you got a cramp in your calf like I did, lift your toes off the floor. Shh. One more time. lean, connect your core cylinder as you come back up. This time we're going to tuck the tail a little bit and lean back, reaching those arms. Lengthen one leg into the air, bend it. Other leg, bend it. Lengthen, bend. Lengthen, bend. So much easier for my right leg than my left leg. Try to keep equal weight on both thumb cheeks. And then take a break. Bring your hands behind you. And then we're going to lengthen one leg onto the floor, pushing into the band and bring it back up. Other leg, push into the band. This is a nice way to get your hamstring and your glute to engage. If you don't want to do a donkey kick, you don't want to lay on your back, you're pushing that thigh bone into the band to activate those muscles in the back of the upper thigh. One more time. All right, now we're going to go ahead and bring the hands to the outsides of the thighs. And we're going to do our open leg rocker balance. So those were our preps for our open leg rocker. You can go back to one of those if you want instead. Draw your belly in, tuck your tail, roll back. Now lengthen your upper back. Now we're going to lengthen one leg into the air and bend it. Other leg, bend. Switching. Push your thigh into that band as you lengthen your leg, the back of your thigh. Keep your tail tucked, but your upper spine long. Now we're going to come into a balance. You can have knees bent or legs long. Push into that band, rock back a little farther, and then reach the other leg. Pushing out into that band, whether you have your knees bent or straight. Lengthening that chest toward the sky. The belly stays drawing in, the lowest belly. Back of the head presses into the air behind you. One more breath. Oh, I'm starting to shake. And then bend your knees and place your feet down. All right, go ahead and take that band off. Let's come to all fours and do that cat and cow again. This is kind of like our assessment. Okay, remember, you can put those sponges under your knees or your wrists. If the sponges are under your wrist, make sure you're still pressing your fingers into the floor. And then we're going to round and extend. And the breath is exhale and inhale. I feel like if I have my hands wider, I can spread my shoulders a little bit more. Inhale, and I can draw my shoulder blades down a little more. Don't forget to use your core, your front core, when you round your spine. One more time. And then go ahead and take your child's pose. I hope your cat and cow felt better there at the end of class. All right, come on to whatever your easiest seated position is. All right, so that was a quick hit class. We moved. We got a lot done. We worked a lot. Take a big breath in and breathe out. One more time, breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in, reach your arms up, and then side bend over to the right. Really making sure your left hip is staying on the mat. Now, press your right hand into the mat like you're pushing your rib cage away from the floor, your right rib cage away from the floor. See if you can find a little more stretch in that top side. And then we're going to use our core to come back up to the middle and then go to the other side. Right hip stays on the floor. Push your hand into the floor like you're pushing the floor away from you to draw this bottom rib in and up. See if you can feel a little more stretch in that top side. And then use your core to come back up. And then we're going to reach the arms out to the side, turn the palms back, bring the fingertips toward the floor. We're going to inhale to extend the spine, sliding the shoulder blades toward each other. And we're going to exhale to round the spine, sliding the shoulders away from each other. 2 more times. Inhale. Try to keep your pelvis still as you do this. So imagine you're just moving your upper back. Last one. And round. Slide your hands forward. Take a nice spine stretch forward here. Breathe in. Breathe out. Your legs can be in a different position for this if you want. 2 more breaths. Breathe in. Breathe out. This time, think about breathing into your upper back. Breathe out. Come on up. Breathe in. Reach your arms up. Rotate your palms. Press those arms down like you're pushing down into water to lift yourself up out of the water. 1 more time. Thank you for joining me for class today. I hope you enjoyed this Pilates with props.